Windows 95, 98, 2000, or NT, a whopping 80 megabytes of free hard drive space, and an active internet connection. The game was a big success, mostly attributed to the novelty of virtual online chat rooms at the time, and garnered the attention of various big names, including David Bowie, Steven Spielberg, and a digital artist by the name of Tamiko Thiel. The latter two actually teamed up at one point and created an in-game environment called the Starbright World, which was aimed at giving seriously ill children an outlet to interact. The gameplay is mostly what you'd expect from something out of the mid-1990s. At the outset of registering your profile, players are given the opportunity to choose between various avatars to represent themselves in-game. Among them are a human, a penguin, a monster, a kangaroo.
I love that this dude knows Zoomers don't know shit, so he started describing, like, in order to get to what a fucking MMORPG is, he literally had to start with, like, at first there was a gas cloud. My God, dude. That's, like, incredible. Like, I don't know if he's just, like, running out the clock as best as he can. Also, yes, as the chatter pointed out, tag yourself. MMORPGs do exist as AFM. I know, that's the joke I'm making, is that, like, everybody knows what a fucking MMORPG is. Abi Knight oynadı mı? Knight Online. Knight. I'm a kangaroo. I'm a fucking kangaroo. You know I'm a fucking kangaroo, brother. I'm a kangaroo.
And a clown. Advertised on the websites are various realms that are available for you to explore at your leisure. Among the hundreds that you're able to choose from, a few notable ones include worlds themed around David Bowie, the New York Yankees, the band Hanson, the sky, an animal house, and a fun house. Venturing out into worlds for the first time, you'll be thrown into a central hub with other players from around the world. The various themed environments that we mentioned prior are accessible through tunnels and doors that are next to their labels, and entering these immediately loads whichever one you so choose. Movements, like any 3D PC game, is achieved using your keyboard and mouse, and also available to you is a chat box, allowing you to communicate to others in real time. Now this seems like nothing out of the ordinary. Along with the primitive graphics, the game is pretty substandard today. At the time though, this was absolutely groundbreaking, and PC owners flooded this thing, giving it a burst of life that would deem Worlds.com a massive success. As with anything that's been crafted in the digital age though, the user base began to decline over the years. With the advent of various competitors, the mid-2000s brought with it the inevitable desertion of the Worlds.com user base as players moved on to bigger and better ventures. Second Life, RuneScape, Toontown, VMK, MyCoke, and Habbo Hotel were becoming viable alternatives that not only looked better, but gave players more to do with their own distinct charm. You may have noticed that most of the names I just read off are now defunct. The Toontown, VMK, and MyCoke live support plugs were pulled as their developers encountered an existential problem that was prevalent from the start. They couldn't find a way to monetize them. Combined with this, the fact that these games were all run with the help of moderation teams and ongoing servers, it became evident that as long as these virtual worlds were online, whoever it was that was running them was losing money. At this point, you'd expect Worlds Inc. to pull the plug. With the dwindling user base and aging game mechanics, it seemed like this was the only sensible way to go. Either cut your losses or release something new and optimized for the next generation of online gaming. But they didn't. As a matter of fact, Worlds.com is still downloadable and accessible to this day, and stands as an uncanny and deserted relic of the past. Rumor has it that the game's creator, Tom Kidron, is simply fronting the server costs himself and running it out of his own home. But that begs the question, why on earth would an individual be fronting the costs to keep a dead video game alive? What part of this abandoned online landscape is so pivotal that it's still in existence over 20 years later. In the short span of time that I've been here, it suddenly dawned on me that I'm visibly the new guy. Everyone here seems to know it. I'm not a regular. Hope you're comfortable. Down the rabbit hole we go. In the early 2010s, rumors began to spread about the game thanks to certain anons from 4chan's VNX boards. Allegedly, there existed potentially illegal and cult-like behavior from the game's handful of players during that time period. As you'd expect, upon catching wind of this, the rest of 4chan did what they do and went in to investigate. Before we continue, I wanted to make something explicitly clear. In my hunting, it dawned on me that these allegations surfaced at a point in time that predated the year 2012. I say this because the oldest records that I've been able to dig up are from that year. Unfortunately, most of the archives, images, and audio files that we're going to get into have been lost to time. However, there are some that allow us to piece together a cohesive storyline as to what actually went on in Worlds.com. So let's talk about the game itself. A major element at the game's core was the ability for users to create and host their own customized universes utilizing a tool known as the World Shaper. Much like Minecraft, if someone chose to do so, they could create their own server, build what they want, and invite certain players through a downloadable file that's accessible through Shaper. Many of these became archived on various websites, and even today, there are download links out there to access certain custom worlds. Effectively, the possibilities were endless, and harnessing the creative freedom that they were given, players were able to create some admittedly impressive worlds. Now that it's died down, though, things have become a bit darker. A bit more controversial, so to speak. While there are groups of people that are or might be strange in their own right, there are two that have starkly stood out to me as the most mysterious. Two users, a Jimbly and a Nexialist. Interestingly, both have crossed paths in the game. However, their stories couldn't be further apart. Contrary to Nexialist, the stories surrounding Jimbly seemed a bit more grounded in reality. But we'll get to him shortly. First, I'd like to introduce you to Nexialist. According to an early 2012 blog by the name of ForgottenWorlds.com, the profile piece on him states the following. Nexialist is a regular at Worlds.com that has been trying to pull in the VNX boards to play this game. Nexialist is a successful user that's been able to get a cult following in the game, which is hard to do. He constantly reaches out to dedicated players to join him, as he seems to be called the key bearer, and gives some players tours around the game without chatting. This isn't even close to covering entirely who this guy is rumored to be, so allow me to pick up where they left off. According to 4chan and various message boards, Nexialist is abstruse, a shred of indecipherable mystery that's lurked Worlds.com for what some believe to be as long as the early 2000s. Encountering him in the game happens at random, and it's been rumored that you don't actually find him, he finds you. Upon discovering you, he'll approach you without words, standing as what appears to be a lifeless corpse as you begin to quietly panic at his disturbing avatar. After the initial shock dies down, you're told to follow him, and as a result, you embark on a journey through hellish customized corridors that bear satanic symbolism and graphic imagery. After your tour, Nexialis will begin sending you disturbing audio files that I wasn't able to find archives for. But if we go by descriptions from 4chaners, it's safe to assume that these sound like the distorted deaths of dying animals. Once you're scared to your wits' end and you leave the game, he already knows that you're going to go to 4chan to talk about it, because that's what he wants you to do. Spread the word, get people talking, and the next sucker that grows a sliver of curiosity and decides to check it out is his next victim. Unfortunately, this all reads like an urban legend. People have been able to capture screenshots and video of Nexialis over the years, but not much, aside from very few outliers, have been found that outlines what I'm describing. Because of that, I'd like to put a pin in this arcane figure and circle back on him later, because there's an even deeper rabbit hole that I'd like to bring you into. Gimbli's a different story. The Hidden Worlds website that I mentioned earlier serves as a diary of the experiences that a man named George Costanza had witnessed when he first played Worlds. According to his blog, he found a bizarre network that this Gimbly guy seems to be running, and the entries on his website outline a considerable amount of information that I'd like to dive into and unpack. The very first post on the website was made on January 5th, 2012. It reads as follows. Well, I started playing this game called Worlds.com. Seemed innocent, but according to V, it has some fucked up things from the past. Everything's forgotten here, and in a group we explored the game. In the coming days we'll share our stories and pictures here. Further on that day, another post was made outlining Gimbly's supposed network and its inner workings. The game started as innocent. We had gags while we explored the worlds, skeletons popping out, and finding Pegasus. Things a person could expect from playing Roblox or other games where your creations are welcome. But things turned bizarre. Our friend Grad, as we called him, was showing us these rooms that I mentioned, and eventually we ended up in a lobby filled with brown doors with text on them. These doors had the creator's name and a description of.
If he doesn't fucking explain why the main dude is still running this fucking server by the end of this video, I will lose my mind. Okay, yeah, whatever. Some guy is like, you know, playing dead animal sounds and shit, which is weird, sure, but like, that is nowhere near as weird as like continuing to run these fucking servers for no reason. That's crazy. That is literally way stranger than like some guy who's like a fucking freak on the internet, who's just like some guy who's just a freak on the internet being weird to people. Like, that's the least edgy 4chaner, exactly.
Of the level or world. This guy, Bilbo99, had messed up levels with Easter eggs everywhere, and we praised him for his creepiness. And then I noticed at the right corner of my window said erotic in Gimbly. This map was Gimbly's creation. It was a town filled with shops like Starbucks. However, things would take a turn. You see, there was a person that contacted me named Megalik. Her, or his avatar, was of a bird or an angel. She claimed that she was new in the world, as I was, but she'd been playing this game for a week and already gotten dirty and knew what this shit was really about. To act new is a common trick to bait new players. Anyway, Gimbly had a network that was serious. How serious? To enter his network, you need to provide mugshots. For example, here's Bilbo99. There were a total of 30 rooms filled with different mugshots of users, but room 2 was dedicated to Gimbly. So we scavenged for Megalik and found this. And there were so many pictures of other users that I'll include, but one thing I found that was standing out was a user named Kelikar. She was in the porn gallery, and I compiled this. It seems like someone has stalked her, and the rooms were labeled Kelicat. This user must have been a fat cat in the network. As you can see, Kelikat's written there, so what Gimbly does now is retrieving nude pictures of regulars that are still left. Megalik was the proof that we needed, since she'd only been playing for a week tops. Below this, George displays the various screen caps that he was able to take of the various mugshots of different users. Of the bunch, he was even able to grab a few of Gimbly himself. Intrigued by this atypical finding, he decided that him and his group of friends wanted to investigate a bit on their new friend Migalik. As it turns out, there was a bit more going on with him than they initially thought. In yet another post from the same day, titled Migalik, a Man or a Woman, he describes the following. Migalik's nudes that could be found in the other post seemed too good to be true. Her head was cropped out and with the body of a young woman, while her mugshot shows an older woman in her 40s, and that picture's really old. What does that leave us with? She could have faked him because she doesn't want to show her real body, or it could be a man playing as a female that doesn't want to get caught. After chatting, we discovered her real email, although it's linked to a man by the name of John. John's in his 50s, seems to enjoy MMOs while his wife doesn't show any interest of games and has her only Facebook activity labeled as kids.
That guy is stolen
So
more than
yes,
1920s
Migalik might
space.
be or is the man posing as a fragile woman while baiting for pictures. Those pictures up there, except for his profile picture, is a year old. The pictures are from 2009, and then he used a picture of his wife to verify himself and thought how cool it would be to send a fake picture of a pair of tits to make him look like a god in a game. As we're beginning to see, Gimbli's network encompasses some extremely odd people. People that are impersonating others and using real-world mugshots to gain access to whatever it is that he's running. One might go as far to say that Nexialist isn't the cult leader here, but rather, it's Gimbli, as most of the rumors about the former seem to relate to what we found with the latter. In a third post I'd like to focus on, titled, Gimbli's Inner Circle, George proceeds to explain the following. The last post was about this weird map, about a man going by the name Gimbli that was trying to get naked pictures from regulars, or old players that were still active. So we stalked him. He hung out at a beach, but once we arrived, they'd all scatter and disappear. Thankfully, though, the friend tool and a broken avatar tool could let us teleport to them while being invisible. But that was for later. Meanwhile, we scavenged the net for Gimbli. We found his website, GimbliWorlds.com, and where he stored his pictures, GimbliWorlds.com/pics, only to show a black screen with red typed text that said darkness. Below this, George reveals publicly accessible information about Gimbli, including an email address, before closing his post with the revelation that also, Gimbli's into traps. This can be found in his porn gallery. With this in the back of our mind, you know I couldn't just let this go. I had to get in. I had to find out if this was real. I emailed Gimbli and began my hunt. Under the guise of a Jeremy Erickson, I start a message and write the following. Good evening, Gimbli. I've recently started playing Worlds and was interested in joining your in-game network to congregate with yourself and other players. Upon consulting with the
That was questionable and transphobic statement, but is this video a shitpost? Is there from 2019?
For a year, baby.
So the guy who runs it has a shit ton of patents on VR games and sues the shit out of Second Life and VR chat to get a lot of money. He keeps it up so he can be house capital. The video doesn't talk about it, I don't think. Like, this is significantly less interesting. This is significantly less interesting than the actual reason as to why the guy keeps the fucking thing running, in my opinion. They have sued and won lawsuits against WoW and Bungie based on the patenting of the idea of an online video game. Shut the fuck up. Oh, that makes sense. Watch his crime videos. Yeah, this one's kind of lame, to be honest. Damn, bro, sometimes you swing and you miss. Like Nexpo. Disturbing things from around the internet. The Reddit stalker. Oh, this is all like... These are all like fucking creepypasta shit. Okay, I see how it is. I see what's going on, dude. Local 58? No, I've already seen that. The search on the 5 is good? What is that one? Fuck, my chicken is gonna, like, literally... Okay, I have to... Hold on. I'm gonna be back in 1 second. We're gonna keep it running for a second. I'll be back in 1 second. Fuck!
I was told to reach out. I've downloaded a few worlds from your website, and I'm currently trying to get them working. Just let me know what I need to do when I'm in. Thanks. Jeremy. So it's been a few days. After a trek through worlds, a lack of a response, and dwindling time to wait, it's beginning to seem like Jimbly either isn't currently active or simply doesn't play this anymore. Though, I have a hard time believing that, considering the fact that the Whois domain search on his website reveals that it was updated on November 5th of 2019. I'm not entirely sure if Jimbly's the kind of guy that would have a sudden change of heart, but if you ask me, it is a bit recent. Anyway, with that under our belt, unfortunately, heading back to the blog reveals that most of the other threads outline mundane discoveries while exploring various official and user-crafted worlds. A few notable highlights include some of Jimbly's bizarre creations, but not much, other than that, is even remotely relevant to our investigation. Even so, the discoveries surrounding Jim are nothing short of unnerving. So what's actually going on here?
Pogo Arjan?
Over the years, the primary consensus surrounding worlds, primarily due to Nexialist, was that it's a front for some sort of satanic cult. Rumors are powerful things, I won't deny that, but there are a few points here that I'd like to unpack. Contrary to Nexialist, Jimbly surprisingly hasn't generated much buzz online. This bizarre, cult-like network that he seems to have created effectively cements him as somewhat of a wild card in my theorization. What this guy is doing is weird. From the mugshots to the vast database of supposed network members to his secret repository of graphic imagery, it seems like he is the one actually running the rumored cult. While it doesn't deal with Satanism and death like the urban legends claimed, this guy is, whether he knows it or not, effectively catalyzing a situation in which people run the risk of being doxxed. It took George not even one full day to piece together the real identity of the wife and man behind the Megalic mugshots, and it's unclear how many other selfies that he has stashed away in the world that he's, according to the blog, been building since 2005. To be frank, aside from the lack of a response, I wasn't able to find much else surrounding this guy, and it's safe to assume that there are others like him. A game that's largely abandoned, aside from a few key players, is surely something that would catch the eye of somebody trying to run some sort of network under the radar. With that being said, I encourage you to make your own conclusions about him. With the evidence at hand, it does appear that at one point in time, there was something going on behind the scenes. Whether or not it still is, or if the mysterious Jimbly is still active, remains to be seen. While I haven't been able to track him down, maybe you can, but keep in mind that if you're so curious as to venture in on your own, your potential discoveries may be nefarious. But remember, we're talking about Jimbly's custom worlds. Stay in the official game, and it's safe to assume that you'll be alright. But that brings us to another point of discussion. Nexialist. You might recall that I mentioned the fact that users are able to create their own worlds. This was actually a pivotal mechanic in the game.
Okay, dude. Okay, hey guys. Hey chat.
Much love
Hey
to
chat.
my streamer Hassel.
Hey chat. Shut the fuck up. I know, okay? It wasn't the best. Okay? It wasn't. It's not the best. Okay? Fuck this. Okay? God damn, this playlist is dog shit. Okay? I'm sorry. Here. They're not all gonna be fire. I'm sorry. I don't know about the Nexpo anymore. I like that video soured me from this shit, dude. What is this? The 5 men vanish under mysterious circumstances. Wait, is this the hiking one? Is this when they're like hiking and then they get lost or something? Okay, I'll watch this one. You watched one video? Chill, dude. Okay, sorry. Sorry, you didn't make the video, so you aren't being sent to the firing squad? Like... I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Thank you, chatter, for sending me the playlist. Like... Everyone's fucking yelling at me. Jesus Christ. I had to run to the fucking kitchen, make sure my goddamn chicken wasn't burning, okay? Yes, okay, buddy's happening today. Sometimes you send your friend a video and they hate it. Yeah. Well, we already watched The Dark Side of the Silk Road. It was really good. Or wait, is this a different one?
At this point in time,
Wait, isn't it just the same one?
Poggers.
Check LSF new now. Why, dude? What the fuck is wrong with you guys? Why do you want me to check LSF new right now? Fucking rude. A chatter takes time out of their day to make a playlist for you to react to and you flip out after one vid. No, I skipped the first one and then I played another one and everyone fucking yelled at me.
Tories are nonsense.
Friday. Joseph Shones was scouting some back roads in the
Yaza,
Plumas National
13
Forest.
months. Pogo.
He spent the better part of the day navigating his Volkswagen in hopes of returning with his family the next day. However, due to harsh weather conditions, his venture led to his car becoming stuck around 5:30 p.m.
Munkor.
Miles away from help and with dwindling options, he hopped out of his car to give it a push. In a strikingly unlucky turn of events, though, this physical exertion would lead to him enduring a heart attack at the worst possible place and the worst possible time. He returns to the confines of his vehicle, enduring the pain.
Nuke the Chrome sub? Oh, yeah. There it is.
And contemplating on what to do. A short while later, though, he'd catch his biggest break. 2 sets of headlights coming from the opposite direction, and the shadows of what looked like a woman, a baby, and a group of guys walking towards him while engaging in conversation. After realizing that this could be his ticket home, he fumbled out of the car and began calling for help.
Dude, I'm beginning to feel the same way about fucking React frogs as I do about RP frogs, where it's like, they're only around for like whatever fucking video they want to watch. And the moment that it's like something that they're not fully into, they're like, get the fuck out of here. I don't want to watch this shit anymore. What the fuck are you doing? And then they literally never stick around for anything else. Like the moment I switch away from fucking reacting to like their particular YouTube video, like they're entitled as fuck, they're annoying as fuck, and they literally leave and they constantly yell about how they've actually seen the video beforehand because another fucking streamer that they literally watch has watched it. It's like, Just chill out, dude.
9 months BB.
Like, stop behaving like fucking babies, man. Okay?
26 months, only about one
What
of
is
them
this?
not all.
If this is a fucking Mischief Crash's golf cart, okay, if this is TOS, I can't watch it, man. Like, I can't. You're literally sending me a LSF, direct LSF link because you know it's already been like fucking clipped out. What's wrong with you? Why do you want me to watch that? Acting like you weren't hating on it too. I mean, yeah, the video sucks. Just chill.
Help. Once he started doing so, the headlights turned dark and the conversation fell silent. A couple hours later, with his car still running, Shones would encounter another anomaly. Flashlights shining in the far distance. As expected, he'd jump out once more, vehemently pleading for one of them to notice him. However, this too
Hey, react
felt
frogs, go
unsuccessful.
touch time grass and stop being so cringe.
Another couple of hours pass, and Shones' car runs out of gas. Fortunately, though, by this point, he felt well enough to exit his vehicle and begin a trek up the road towards a lodge roughly 8
Hello,
miles
Hassel,
away.
Can I get a welcome to the
It was on
jungle?
this walk when he'd witnessed a
XQCL.
1969 Mercury Montego with no passengers inside. Considering the circumstances, and having spotted numerous people in the last few hours,
Hi,
he
Hassan,
didn't
you
think
rock.
much of it. His trek to the mountain lodge took him to the early morning of the next day, and there, he was able to obtain medical treatment and much needed help to get his car out of there. What he failed to realize, however, was the fact that on this journey, he passed the vehicle of 5 men that would soon become enveloped in one of the strangest unexplained mysteries.
Do you guys want me to like play the instead of watching this? Do you guys want me to play the Mischief Crash on loop? I think that's what I'm gonna do instead. Here you go. Here, we'll just keep playing it on loop until they ban me or something. Okay, there you go. The amount of fucking weirdos that have come in here and been like, dude, watch this. You have to watch it. Are you happy?
Hi, Hassan, you are very loved. And
Is
I
that
hope you're
exciting
having
for
a
you
good day
guys?
today.
Should I keep playing it over and over again? Is there more? Would you like to watch it again? God damn, bro. Okay. Is that good? Should I play it a little bit more? Kind of
Mate, we're
fucked
sorry.
up, dude. Yeah, he's in pain. Stop linking the same shit over and over again.
In history.
Hey Hassan, relatively new viewer, but since you're doing React, I just want to know when is the best time to link you a poop sock video? Thanks.
Never.
February 24th. It was on this day when the lives of 5 longtime friends would converge. 30-year-old Jack Madruga would make his rounds within Yuba City in Oroville, California to pick up the others for a night out at a Chico State basketball game. 29-year-old William Sterling, 24-year-old Jack Hewitt, 32-year-old Theodore Wire, and 25-year-old Gary Mathias made up this close-knit bunch, commonly referred to as the Boys, and they were all eager for a night out before competing in a basketball game of their own. The group played for a team called the Gateway Gators, an extracurricular segment of the Yuba City Gateway program. This was a rehabilitative center aimed at helping them learn a trade while overcoming their mild intellectual disabilities and mental health issues. It was because of this notion that the group lived with their parents, and with this came the expectation that they'd return home later that night. Jack Madruga, the owner of his prized 1969 Mercury Montego, was known to have recently worked as a dishwasher at a local fruit company. He was keen on handling his finances. However, due to what family describes as him being slow in thought, he found it difficult to maintain a job. William Sterling was known to be Madruga's best friend. He was deeply religious and enjoyed spending his free time reading literature to console patients in mental hospitals. Ted Wire, the oldest of the bunch, enjoyed confiding in his friends, however was known to lack basic common sense. According to his brother, he was known to have spent over $100 on pencils for no reason. He was employed for a bit as a janitor and a snack bar clerk, but was later urged by his family to quit, since they believed he was causing problems. Jack Hewitt was known to be slow to react and typically hung around Wire. He was taken under his wing, so to speak, and frequently required his help to perform basic tasks such as dialing phone numbers. Gary Mathias was the most enigmatic of the group. He was the only one that lacked an intellectual disability, however in its place, suffered severe mental health issues. The most prominent was his schizophrenia, which was the cause of his discharge from his brief time in the army. Both Mathias and Jack Madruga were the only two in the group that possessed a driver's license. And so they embarked. A roughly 1-hour trip was ahead of them, and conversation ensued surrounding sports in the anticipation of a win for themselves the very next day. The boys' uniforms were already laid out back home by their parents, so they were ready to roll. Things were going good. PM. Chico State's road opponent UC Davis takes the win. Considering the men's favorite team were UC Davis, it's safe to say that celebratory snacking was in order. They hit up a local convenience store by the name of Bears, where they loaded up on a Hostess cherry pie, a lemon pie, a Snickers bar, a Marathon bar, a couple Pepsis, and a quart of milk. It's been noted that the clerk that checked them out that night was trying to close, and as a result was mildly annoyed by them being there. Little did they know that they'd be one of the last ones to ever witness this group alive. The boys jump back in the car and embark on their journey back home.
What the fuck was that, dude? That's so creepy. Why did he do that? That scared the fuck out of me, dude. That literally scared me so bad, dude. Fuck you, dude. Oh my god.
They didn't make it back home that night. Instead of driving south, they took a detour east. Their journey that night encompassed their ride from Oroville to Chico. You would think that they'd head straight back down Highway 99 and Highway 70, but that didn't happen. Right before arriving in Oroville, the driver took a detour off of Highway 70 and onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway, a road that runs across Lake Oroville and up towards the Plumas National Forest. They drove until the road ended and continued their journey up a dirt trail until their vehicle became stuck in the snowdrift. It's unclear what happened from this point forward, but sometime after this arrival, they'd exit the confines of their car and embark into the night.
No, this is a real story.
Back at the lodge, Joe Shones' medical treatment had gone well. He paid no mind to the Mercury Montego since it wasn't out of the ordinary, and by midday, he was able to get his car gassed up and headed home. Concurrently, since the boys were nowhere to be found, the mothers of Ted Wire and William Sterling were contacting police, pleading for help in finding their children. It was out of character for every single one of them to be away from home for prolonged periods of time. And so they believed that the worst had happened to them.
Government officials.
Why does he make everything so creepy?
We will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds.
Tuesday. forest ranger scouting the area notices an abandoned turquoise Mercury Montego. It was left on an unpaved road near Elk's Retreat, a staggering 2.5 hours from where the basketball game took place. The vehicle appeared ordinary. It was unlocked, the window was down, and snack wrappers littered the seats. In the gas tank was more or less a quarter tank of gas, and by the time it was located, it wasn't stuck. Jarringly, considering how rough the terrain of this trail is, the vehicle was found with minimal damage. Yuba County PD began broadcasting the details and photos of the missing men, and for the next 5 days, their search team would scour the region.
Has spooked.
This would soon prove difficult, however, considering the fact that this was in the middle of a harsh winter in the mountains. It's been reported that the search team nearly lost people on a couple occasions, and by Sunday, a harsh winter storm would move in, dumping nearly 9 inches of snow in the area. It was because of this, the environmental hazards, and the fact that time was running against them that led the police to call off the search until snowmelt that spring. And as the case sat on hold, their families were frustrated, and the 5 men were left out there, isolated, nowhere to be found.
7 months, damn, I gotta touch grass.
What?
June. A group of bikers are out on a weekend ride and head up onto the sites of an abandoned forest
So that's it? They just got lost? Or what's up? They're waiting for the fucking season to change so they can find the bodies.
service trailer at the Daniel Zink campground near Bucks Lake. The facility involved a main
What is this, fucking Canada, dude?
trailer in the middle with multiple smaller satellite ones around it.
Hassle chat.
When they pulled in, they noticed a prominent, malodorous smell emanating from the main structure.
That fucked me up again. I thought that was like literally a part of the video again. It was just my internet sucks.
Immediately after, a broken window. They head inside, curious on what they've stumbled upon, and a body.
What?
From head to toe were bed sheets concealing their identity, and after pulling them off, they discovered that it was one of the 5 men that disappeared 4 months prior. It was Ted Wire, 80 pounds lighter and with a considerable beard, lending credence to the possibility that he took refuge here for more or less 2 months. In the bed, they discovered his body with his shoes missing. With that, his feet badly frostbitten. It appeared that he passed away due to starvation and exposure to the elements. However, he strangely could have avoided this fate altogether. Since he took shelter inside of a Forest Service trailer, he had access to ample heat sources and enough canned food to last all 5 men months if they chose to stay there.
What the
While they found
fuck?
12 open cans scattered throughout the room, the vast majority of them were unopened, and it also appeared that no effort was taken to block off the window that was broken when they entered. The scene? Bewildering, especially considering that it was 19 miles away from where Joe Schoen spotted their abandoned car. But all in all, it was the jumpstart investigators needed to get back on this case. The search continued. With mounting public attention and hope for closure, search teams prowled the new focus area southeast of Bucks Lake. It would only take a day before they'd catch their next break, too. On June 8th, police discovered the corpses of Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga nearly 5 miles south of where Ted Wire was found. In Madruga's pocket, his car keys. It was noted that he'd been dragged a short distance and was partially eaten by animals. For Sterling, his remains were scattered around the area a few feet away. He was nothing but bones. Since the bodies were discovered closer to the vehicle and on a potential road they could have taken northbound, they believed that on their hike, the pair couldn't press on any further and met their demise through a combination of the elements and mounting fatigue. 2 days later, the father of Jack Hewitt discovers numerous articles of clothing belonging to him a couple of miles northeast of the service trailer. Soon after, his remains. Interestingly, a short distance west of their location, Service blankets and flashlights were discovered lying by the road. This discovery led investigators to the belief that he and Gary Mathias more than likely made it to the trailer with Ted Wire and lived with him for an undetermined amount of time. Their reasoning was because of the existence of Mathias's tennis shoes left in the room that Wire was found in. The theories are tenuous, but they believe that they spent most of their final weeks alongside Ted Wire in the trailer. After he passed away, however, they wanted to get away from the corpse and set out towards the northeast to achieve that. It was on this hike that the pair would meet their demise, spending their final days exposed to Mother Nature. Now, it would make perfect sense. However, to date, the remains of Gary Mathias have never been found.
Oh no.
As of now, his missing persons case remains open, leaving questions abound surrounding the motive and the circumstances that late winter night.
Why did they fucking call this off? Like, are the winter conditions that devastating that they couldn't... Like, that's crazy. Like, at all? The next Poe vid is about Alana Pierce, the streamer you played with, I think, during one of your Among Us streams. Wait, what? Yeah, that is Alana. What the fuck is this? You know... Have you never driven through snow?
Without a doubt, there are questions about this case. The main one, though, encompasses the following. Why did they not head home? Backing up and taking a look at this case presents an anomaly that's frequently brought up. Gary Mathias.
Bro, I'm trying to go to sleep tonight, dude. What the fuck is this channel? Like, the true crime shit, at least, like, real human psychopaths is one thing. But this dude just spices it up super hard, dude. I didn't realize you guys, like, low-key snuck a horror channel into my lineup. This is scary as fuck, dude. Horror kick W. What do you mean horror kick W? You don't think this is scary? What the fuck happened to this guy? You don't know. I don't know.
He had a friend that lived in Forbstown, a few miles away from Oroville and where the car was found. This has led many to consider the potential that Mathias had more to do with this than some were letting on. If we take a look at their route that night, mapping it from Chico to where they abandoned the car, it makes sense. The Oroville-Quincy Highway is just north of Oroville, and the potential of Gary Mathias having driven up there in the past wouldn't be far-fetched. So let's entertain the idea that Madruga was convinced. He drove the car up the Oroville-Quincy Highway and missed the turnoff to Forbstown Road. As a result of this, he kept driving and driving until he eventually became stuck miles up a mountain trail. Now up to this point, the events that night seem like honest, innocent mishaps. What led the mother of Jack Madruga to think otherwise, however, was the fact that after they were stuck, why, with 5 sizable guys that could have rectified the situation with relative ease, did they decide to abandon the car and press onwards into the unknown? What was restricting them from turning back and undoing the mistake that they'd gotten themselves into?
Wait, wasn't they stuck? Like, weren't they literally stuck in the snow? Not really. Yeah, I know about the Dyatlov Pass incident. Yeah, it's crazy.
According to Jack's mother, she pled that
5 guys can get unstuck. I mean, they have intellectual disabilities and stuff, right? I mean, they're not all there, so they probably wouldn't have. I don't know. They're not like thinking in the, they're not thinking about it like that.
There was some force that made them go up there. They wouldn't have fled off in the woods like a bunch of quail. We know good and well that someone made them do it. We can't visualize someone getting the upper hand on those 5 men, but we know it must have been. Considering the circumstances at the time, postulating the potential of nefarious activity wouldn't be out of the ordinary. The state that Jack Madruga's car was found in led to even further questions than it did answers.
I mean, none of them have narcissistic personality disorder, so I guess you're right. They could have figured out pushing the car.
According to reports, his car was found in immaculate condition, something almost unheard of considering the rugged terrain that existed on the road they'd taken. With 5 moderately sized men packed into an already heavy and low-sitting vehicle, undercarriage damage was nearly a guarantee. Given the fact that Jack had never driven up on this road before, it seemed weird that he was able to navigate it with such prowess near midnight. Furthermore, when the car was found, Jack's window was rolled down, which his mother claimed was extremely uncharacteristic of him. Bearing in mind that Matthias and Madruga were the only 2 with driver's licenses, suspicion grew regarding the actual driver that night. Was Jack Madruga truly at the wheel, or did Matthias demand the keys while taking them up there? Considering Matthias's numerous run-ins with the law, this wouldn't be entirely outside the realm of possibility. Prior to 1976, he was known to have been unpredictable, however straightened out after being prescribed schizophrenia medication. It was reported by his stepfather that, quote, he had no notable contact with police during the 2 years leading up to his disappearance, and he hadn't gone haywire in private during that time. The reason I bring this up is because I see it mentioned all the time on various articles and forums. However, the evidence presented, especially considering his own disappearance, is relatively insubstantial. While this is a notable possibility,
Why you gotta do that?
Okay.
Nothing removes me from the severity of a situation like consulting Reddit threads. Like, it's just all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck? Is this like actually a real thing or is this made up? Like, Reddit equals raw. I mean, literally, dude. Yeah. Uno Reddit momento, dude. Yeah.
in my opinion, there are others that carry a bit more weight.
You wish you had half
Let's talk about
legitimacy of
Joseph
user.
Jones.
Hey, it's Nick CA.
We can recall that he spent the better part of his Friday night stuck around the same area the boys were.
What?
It's staggering that he spent most of his night under the unluckiest of circumstances. However, I digress. In his testimony, he claimed that he witnessed something. A group.
I love saying shit about Reddit because like there's always the worst kind of person in the chat that like immediately defends Reddit. Who will use words like you dolt.
Consisting of a woman, a man, and a baby, all walking within the path of two sets of headlights. If we're assuming that his recollection is correct, then this leaves us questioning the identities of the other party involved. Ted Wyer's sister has come forth, theorizing on the potential that the men witnessed something nefarious that night, sometime after the basketball game. Perhaps they saw an attack or some sort of signal, whether domestic or not, and decided to follow the family to help. I'm not entirely sure how large the distance between Shones and the group he witnessed were, but hearing the cries of someone in need would surely spark some sort of desire to help instead of shutting up entirely. I find it strange that the headlights cut off and the conversations halted in both instances when he saw people. While the circumstances don't scream maliciousness, they definitely don't drive the situation towards innocence. That is, if his recollection was correct. You see, since this testimony came out, Shones' story had slightly changed each time he shared it. While this, of course, could be a simple case of memory distortion, the notion that he changed it at all ultimately weakens his story altogether. According to sources, conversing with Jones after the fact was admittedly frustrating. He would claim that he was very ill during the moments he believed he witnessed the others, and essentially admitted that he could have hallucinated some of the details. Bearing in mind that the other parties stopped dead in their tracks both times he called out for them, it could have easily been a figment of his imagination. But what if it wasn't? That's just it. The nature of word-of-mouth testimonies, weakened by the circumstances of their situations, ultimately leave them up for debates and shrouded in uncertainty. While a nefarious situation is plausible, we can't discount the potential that the boys' predicament that night was all one big accident gone wrong. Let's put Gary Mathias in the spotlight once more. Entertain this. The men are...
I'm so confused as to how the fucking guy with a heart attack was able to give like testimony. Chat, how the fuck does that work? Isn't that the guy with the heart attack? Like, he was having a heart attack. He didn't die, Hassan? Okay, but like, how the fuck was he having a heart attack and also like had an accurate retelling of the events? Like how there's a top of the hour ad break coming up right now. Fuck, I fucked it up. I fucked it up. I fucked it up. Top of the hour every hour. It's time for a 6-second ad break. Oh my god. I just said break while burping. That's kind of cool. You'd like to no longer see the ads. Chatters, all you need to do is subscribe. You can do that for $5 or for free with the Twitch Prime. I'm running the ad. You can use a VPN, ad block. Where's the ad break now?
They're at the game. All's going well, and they leave that night without issue. They hit up Bears to grab some snacks before...
This ridiculous debate with conservatives about perceived LGBT propaganda. Stop watching when it gets too cringe. Debate! Dylan Burns and BPF debate LGBTQ in children's media by Politically Provoked, a 3-hour video with 4,000 views. No thanks, my friend. I think I'm going to skip that one. It seems like that's not something that I would be interested in at all. Like remotely. Debate more like debate. Yeah, exactly. He says stop when it gets cringe. Yes, before I even got started.
JJ.
Before hitting the road back home. They're driving down Highway 99 towards Oroville, and somewhere on the way, Mathias convinced the others to visit his friend in nearby Forbstown. Jack agrees, and they detour right before Oroville onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway, where they eventually miss the turnoff onto Forbstown Road. The Oroville-Quincy Highway is incredibly dark at that time of night, so it would make sense. Hesitant to turn around since the highway tightly winds through the backcountry, the others suggested alternate turnoffs that were supposedly ahead. Alternate turnoffs that, as we know, they never took. Before they know it, they're up a mountain road, lost in the darkness before becoming stuck. Now, while they could have dislodged the car and turned around, we can't rule out the possibility that they simply didn't think to do so in their situation. On top of this, it was reported that a day prior to their dilemma, a snowplow had cleared a path along the road that they got stuck on, potentially instilling a sense of optimism that some external party would soon be back to help. A party that never came. And so they roughly map out the nearest spot to get help, jump out of the car, and start a trek towards their destination. Since the service trailer was a whopping 19 miles away, it's safe to assume that surviving a trek of this magnitude against harsh weather is more or less a death